All right, we're going to do exercises 18.1 and 18.2 of Murach's Visual Basic 2015. And I have the start files already open. So that was step one. Step two is to display the customer class, which is right here, and modify getDisplayText so it's overridable. There you go. It's that simple. Save this guy. All right, step three is to add a class named Wholesale Customer. So I'm going to add new item. It's a class. I'm going to call this Wholesale Customer. And this class inherits the customer class. And because this is a wholesale customer, we need a new property for company. All right, and it should provide a default constructor and a constructor that accepts 4 parameters. So our default constructor, I think it's just going to run mybase.new, whereas the constructor that accepts 4 parameters, it's accepting first name, last name, email, and company. And this one should initialize these class properties. It should call the base class constructor, and then, okay, so let's do that first. So you can see mybase.new, the customer class has 2 ways to call this. Either call it with no arguments, which we're doing up here, or we call it with first name, last name, and email address. So that's the one that we're going to do here. But then we need to set the company property is equal to the company that was sent in here. So every customer has first name, last name, email address, but wholesale customers also have a company property. So when we create a new wholesale customer, we're going to use the same mybase.new for first name, last name, email to set those properties. And then we're going to set the company property because only wholesale customers have a company. And if we look at customer, here's the customer class. Here's the new, which really, this is a simplified example that it's just showing you that it's setting the properties. But if this did something else, every time we created a customer, then every time we also create a wholesale customer, it would also do those other things. Maybe it takes first name, last name, email, and adds them to an email list, a marketing list somewhere. All right, and then finally, this class should override the getDisplay method, so it shows the customer's information in a certain way. So when we say that this function overrides, so we're saying public overrides function getDisplayText, automatically Visual Studio filled in the rest of this for us because mybase.getDisplayText returns a string. So by default, it's going to just return this. So let's look at what mybase getDisplayText looks like. It's first name, space, last name, comma, email address. which is close to what we want. The book wants us to do first name, space, last name, comma, email address, and then it wants us to put in quotes, it wants us to put the company name in here. And obviously we're not putting the words company name. Doing it like this. Let's just make sure that, yeah, we don't need this me here. All right, there we go. Oh, I think I want a space there because remember this ends, get display text on customer ends with the email address. So this ends with the email address. So then I want a space and then in parentheses have the company name. All right, that was step 3. Step 4, we're going to do something very similar. Only we're going to make a retail customer. It has a string property called home phone. Like wholesale customer, retail customer should provide default constructor and a constructor that accepts 4 parameters. It should override get display text so it looks like this. And it gives an example of what it's going to look like. So this is so similar to wholesale customer. I'm going to take wholesale customer and I'm going to just paste it in here. All right, so I pasted in wholesale customer. Now, instead of company, we're using phone. So I'm going to replace all instances of the word company with phone. And instead of putting phone number in parentheses, it wants us to put PH and then a colon like that. All right, so that's what our get display text looks like. And this is specified from the assignment. All right, that was step 4. Step 5, complete the event handlers for the click events of the save buttons on the add wholesale customer form. Here's the add wholesale customer form. We have the save event. Let's see. Oh, to do. Add the code that creates a wholesale customer. All right, so if you're following along, there's a good example of this on page 629, figure 1814, kind of like in the middle of the page there. To do, so we're going to do customer equals new. And remember, this is a wholesale customer. And wholesale customers can be empty, but we know that this form was filled out and the data was already validated. And if you look down here, we're making sure that the company name is filled in, right? Because isValid data is different on a wholesale customer than it is on a retail customer. So we have 2 constructors. We have the empty constructor, or we have the one that accepts a first name, last name, email, and company, and those are all strings. Well, that's what we want. So we're going to do txt first name dot text, txt last name dot text, txt email dot text, txt company dot text. All right, we're actually going to jump over to the retail customer form and do the same thing here. We need to create a retail customer. So customer equals new retail customer, and same thing, it takes first name, last name, email, and retail customers have phone numbers. So that customer gets created, and I believe that wraps up. Yep, that wrapped up step 5. And now onto step 6. Complete the event handlers for the click events of the add wholesale and add retail buttons on customer maintenance form. So we look at the customer maintenance form, click on add wholesale, and we need to complete this. All right, so if I were to run this right now, oh, I guess I can't run this right now. What are my errors? Home phone is not a member of retail customer. Where the heck are we using home phone? Okay, well, that's good to know. Apparently, we're not calling this phone on the retail customer. We're calling it home phone. I probably missed that somewhere. So if we open up retail customer, take phone, and we're going to change it to home phone. All right. Now we can run this. And it's not going to do much. But this is what we need to do. Get these add wholesale, add retail buttons working. Okay. So on the customer maintenance form, add wholesale. What do we need to do? We need we're going to create a new instance of the wholesale customer form. And so we're going to get back from the wholesale customer form. We're going to run this get new customer. And if we look at that, where's our wholesale customer form? Well, here we go. So we have this get new customer function, which shows the dialog. So it's going to show the form, and then it returns the customer. And remember that when you click the save button, we validate the data, then we set that customer to a new customer. So that's what gets returned here. This returns a wholesale customer, puts it back into this customer object. Then we have to say if customer is not nothing, then. So we want to make sure that the customer, that the value actually, or the form actually got filled in and the user clicked on submit. They didn't just go and click on cancel. So if it's not nothing, then customers dot add customer to the list. We're going to save it. And then we're going to refresh that list box, and we can get rid of this comment. So now when I hit run, I'm going to add wholesale. So remember, clicking that add wholesale called that get new customer method, which showed the dialog result. If I hit cancel, it doesn't do anything, because then in that case, customer is nothing. So it didn't do any of this stuff. And if I save the customer, it writes it back here. So first name, last name, comma, email address. That's from the customer class. And then I added the company name for our wholesale customers. All right, so we're going to do the same thing for retail customers. You can write this out again, or we can copy paste. I'm going to write some of it out. So we create a new instance of the retail form, and then the customer we're going to set to this retail customer form dot get new customer. If customer is not nothing, then we're going to add the customer to the list. We're going to save it back to the database. In this case, it's an XML file. And we're going to refresh that box. So pretty straightforward. If I hit add retail, there we go. So you can see company name are in parentheses, and retail customers have PH:\space and then their phone number. All right, that finished up step 6, and step 7 was just to run it to make sure it works. So there you have 18.1, and for my class, we're just going to continue right into 18.2 because it builds upon 18.1. All right, so 18.2, like I said, we are starting right where we left off before. We're going to modify the customer list class. I can just close all these. I don't need anything open. Okay. Customer list class. Modify it so it inherits the list of customer class. Instead of using a private list. So I'm going to take this private list and get rid of it. All right, so we set inherits list of customer, and we got rid of the private list. However, you can also see that when we got rid of that private list, we have all sorts of errors now, but we're going to correct those. Don't worry about that. We can delete the count method because it is returned by the base class. So there's no reason to have this this count property because the list.count handles that for us. And we can use the shadows keyword to hide the item property and the add and remove methods in the base class. So you can use the ones that are already in the customer list class. So we add the shadows keyword in here, and add it here, and add it here. So now we can use the ones that are in our customer list class. However, you can also see that we still have this customers error to deal with. All right, so since we're using this customer list inherits the list of customers, we straight up don't need the constructor. All right. Again, this customers is gone. So we can't reference customers, but we can reference mybase.item here. So this is going to give us the mybase item, and then same thing here. For the add, what we want to do is we want to run mybase.insert. Now, insert takes an integer of where you want to put it and the item to get inserted. So I don't know where I want it right now, but the thing I want to put in is customer. So think about where we want to put this thing. And we want to put it at the end of the list. Okay, so the book example, everything gets added to the beginning of the list, which I think is kind of lame. If we want to put something at the end of the list, well, I know that my list size is mybase.count. So if I had 3 things in my list, mybase.count is equal to 3. And my list items are at spots 0, 1, 2. So if I did mybase.insert at 3, the customer, this really puts it at the end of the list. All right. Here we can also, if we're removing a customer, just run mybase.remove. Fill is going to work a little differently. We don't have a quick way to do this. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to say customers as list of customer. So we're going to get these customers back one by one. So this customers is like a temporary throwaway list of customers. I'm even going to call it temp customers, just so you're not confused with the customers that was this property up here that we've gotten rid of. Temp customers, all it does is it goes to the customer DB and it gets the customers. And then what we're going to say is we're going to loop through temp customers. And for each temp customer that we get back out, we're going to run mybase.add temp customer. All right. So we've got that. And actually, as I do this, I realize that this insert could have just been either way this works. I guess this is a lot easier, mybase.add. Okay, and again, so the reason that we have this, and this is a good example of why, why would we want to shadow the add method here if all it does is calls mybase.add. Well, it doesn't only do that. It also raises the changed event. Okay, so this is a great example of why we would take customer list and it inherits the list of customer, but it does other things as well. Okay, so there we have our fill. And then for our save, we're going to run, we're running customer DB save customers. But what we're giving it is me. I am the list of customers. All right, we're almost done. The only problem now is in the customer maintenance form, the fill customer list box. Well, it's not really a problem. This will work just fine. For some reason, the book wants us to change it to a for next statement. So fine, I'll comment this out. And wants us to use a for each. I'm going to go into code snippets, loops, for each. This just helps me out, helps me realize what I'm trying to do. For each, this customer, as customer, in customers. Then I'm going to do list customers. That's an LST. That's not first customers. Items.add this customer.get display text. All right. We'll comment this line out. It doesn't like that C is not being used. So run it. There we go. That's what it should look like. So that was 18.1 and 2. For my class, you are taking the project as it is right now, 18.1 and 2 all together, and submitting it once. Okay? So go ahead, zip that up, submit it, and like this video if it helped you out.